Hello everybody and welcome back. Jimmy Kolb coming to you here. I've got my second video doing bench critiques. I've got 3 videos here sent in by fans of the show, fans of online, Instagram, sending me videos they want to critique, so I'm going to go ahead and get that started for you, and we won't waste any time. Let's go ahead and start. And here we are. So I've got video number 1 coming to us actually from a friend of the gym we go to, Unleashed Strength. He has since moved on. I'm pretty sure he's going to college somewhere. Christian Park. So he sent me a video. It's a raw bench, which is actually kind of a rare thing for me. But he's a good friend, and I want to go ahead and review it. So let's go ahead and roll the clip, and we'll show you the bench.
Come on, come on, come on. Good shit.
And there we go, a big bench from Christian Park, a big raw bench. I'm not a kilo guy. I do know 2 reds plus the green. I'm assuming that's somewhere in the low 300s, maybe mid 500 or 300s. I know he's benching about 340 or 350 the last time I saw him in person. But yeah, again, I don't know kilos very well. So I'm looking at this from the get-go. He's benching on a Rogue bench. It's one of those cage-type benches. One of the safest ways to bench, in my opinion. I bench in one myself. Ours is a Titan equipment, or Titan Fitness bench of the same setup. And people give, real quick note, people give Titan Fitness a really bad rap for being cheap. I'm going to tell you, they're not cheap. They're just inexpensive. They're affordable. I've loaded up 1,400 pounds twice now on that bench. It's never moved or creaked or made a noise or shifted. They're great benches. Anyway, back to the content. So he's benching on a Rogue bench. It's got a Rogue pad. It looks like it's a 14-inch Thompson fat pad style. So it's got the wider pad, which is great for shoulder health. I think that should be standard in powerlifting these days. I don't know why we're still stuck on staying with pads that are 12 inches, or if you lift in the USPA on an ER rack type that are garbage, they're even thinner than that. And then talking about the Rogue bench he's using, the one thing I don't see before I even hit play again is the fact that the face savers, the body savers that the bench is kind of meant for aren't even there. So not that he's in any serious danger. He does have a spotter. I know he can handle this weight. It's just, I like seeing body savers with benches. I think that should just be standard. I've dropped 405 on my chest from full lockout a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, and just 405. It came down, landed below my xiphoid process. Luckily, it didn't hit here. I would have snapped that off. It landed below that on top of my abs. I broke 2 ribs. It bounced and came back down a second time. So 405 destroyed me. That was when I was still in the Marine Corps. So I really, it didn't have face savers on it. It was one of these benches, but the gym that I was going to at the time did not have them at all. They were just completely non-existent. So if you have the option to use face savers or body savers, go ahead and use them. Just humor me. Just be as safe as you possibly can. Before we even get going again, as I'm looking at it, his wrists are in a perfect position. They are very, very straight. He's got the bar sitting nice and low down here on the heel of his palms. He's got a nice liftoff guy doing his liftoff for him. So we're going to go ahead and play for a quick second. He's bringing the bar down. So what I see, for one, his heels are up. As he's lowering the weight, you can see his t-shirt and his shorts. You can actually see a little bit of shaking on the way down. I don't like to see any sort of reverberation movement. I don't like to see that. Now, if you're under extremely high, heavy loads, but even with my loads, the things that I handle, if I see shaking or movement, that tells me that the person is probably on the pad, probably as tight as they possibly can be, yes. But if I can see movement, that tells me that you're not driving with your lower body. The thing we want to do with the lower body is drive as hard as we possibly can throughout the duration of the lift. If you're driving yourself up the pad as hard as you can, and your body is one solid rod piece of iron, just totally tight from shoulder all the way down to the floor, you wouldn't see a lot of this movement. It's not a lot, but because he's wearing kind of a loose shirt with no belt, I can kind of see a little bit of movement there in the shorts and everything. I can tell this is probably pretty heavy for him. I would like to see his heels pushed down into the floor. If you're up on your toes, that's a technique a lot of people use. A friend of mine, Greg Powell, he does the tucked underneath the bench, up on his toes. Again, I think you're limiting yourself. You're limiting how much leg drive you can do, because like I mentioned in the last video, you're in more of a leg extension type situation, where if you were flat-footed and had a wide base, you're more of a leg press position, and you can get a nice, wide, stable base from which to push. You don't see football players or high school wrestlers standing nice and tall and, you know, with a narrow stance. They get down low and they get a nice wide stance because you can't push somebody over quite as easy if you have a nice wide, stable base. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the press itself. Not too bad. I can tell it's definitely a max effort lift for Christian. He's chesting up to the bar. He does get some initial leg drive out of the bottom. That's the thing too. When you're trying to bench the most weight possible, you don't want to limit yourself to just the chest, shoulders, arms. We want to use our backs. We want to use your even to a degree, even in your midsection, your abs, your lower body, your legs. Everything needs to be driving into that bench, driving into that bar. Don't limit. If you want to build muscle like a bodybuilder, they need to limit how many muscle. They want to target the chest. They want to use just the chest, isolate as much as they possibly can. When you're trying to max out, don't limit yourself to just one type of muscle or a few muscle groups. Use the entire body. So I can see he's getting good leg drive. He kind of gets a nice start of the bar, kind of initiating with the lower body to get that bar moving. When he comes off the chest, he's tucked. And then when he starts the press, he does flare, I guess, just a little bit too soon. I would have liked to have seen that tucked position just a little bit longer, and then maybe about halfway up, start what we call the corkscrew. So you're tucked and you flare, tuck and flare. When you're in a tucked position, this is very powerful. Again, football players don't push like this. They're in here and they push like this. They push from a tucked position. You can press a lot more weight from a tucked position than you can flared. Now you can lock out more weight when your elbows are flared out to the sides than you can tucked. So that's why if you tuck in the bottom, when you're on your way up, you want to flare back out. We call it that corkscrew, like this, tuck and flare. It could be just because it's a lot of weight, probably very max effort. It's a raw lift. He could be flaring out, maybe because of a muscular imbalance or a weakness somewhere. He's kind of compensating for it. But otherwise, he's a strong lockout. He's got his triceps kicked in on the top. Gets the lift. I wouldn't say it was a dirty lift. It was pretty clean. Yeah, good job, Christian. I don't have much else to say about it. Again, just this is just one example, I would say, where I would love to see more of a stable base. Every lift starts from the ground. Even though this is a lift where we're laying down flat, the lazy man exercise is what some people call it. You want to have a stable base, and that starts from the floor. So even if you want to stay kind of narrow stance like Christian is here, last thing I would tell you to do, if you're up on your toes, just drive your heels down just to initiate more lower body even before the lift is commencing. The bench, a proper bench position is not comfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable. When I get up off the bench, my legs are on fire and my back is cramping. But that means you're doing it correctly. Don't limit yourself to just this or this. Use the entire body. Make it a full body lift, like a squat laying down when you're trying to lift the most weight possible. But yeah. All right, guys. So now we're going to roll into the second clip. I'm trying to do 3 of these per video. I think that's a pretty good number. I like odd numbers too, so we're not going to do 4 or anything weird like that. Next video comes from a gentleman named Eric Rossberg. This is an equipped lift, so I should know a little bit more about this than a raw lift. So we're going to go ahead and roll the clip and see what goes on.
Let it out. Bring that belly to the bar on the way down. Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
All right, again, Eric Rossberg, thank you very much for sending in the video. He sent me this, and it's not a successful lift. He is training. He's in the gym, as you can clearly see. He's benching off of looks like a 2 board, possibly a 3. It looks like a 2, based on the thickness. He's in an SDP, Inzer SDP. Not a getting onto shirts, not a shirt I would recommend. Easy to learn, yes. They stretch, so they'll open quick. You get weights down, but that's the problem too. Is they stretch, and they stretch, and they stretch, and they stretch, and they stretch. I think it's hilarious when you go and you read like the Inzer website and you read about what they talk about, or when the Powerlifting USA was out and they had like the ads for them, and how like the material retains its shape and used for countless workouts and countless competitions. It has memory, and that's so absolutely unfucking true. They stretch out immediately. It is insane how fast those shirts stretch out, but they are popular. They're one of the more popular multi-ply shirts out there. I don't think anybody uses a single-ply version of that shirt. If they do, I am so sorry that you probably wasted your money. Inzer 20 or 15 years ago was a little bit better quality. Nowadays, I say, hey, stay away from those things. They are endless money pits in terms of bench shirts. So he's on board here. He's doing, looks like he's got bands attached to the bar as well. And the weight looks to be about 455 plus the tension of the bands. They look like mini bands. You're looking at probably maybe 40 or 50 pounds at the top of the lift. He's probably topping out around 500 pounds at the very top. So he's going to bring the weight down to the board. He's going to get his hand off from his guy here. There's another gentleman with an SDP hanging at his belt. So I see 2 SDPs in one video. So his base, before he brings the bar down, so you can see his base is more what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a wide, stable base. He's got his legs spread very, very far apart. They're more or less kind of out in front of him. And that's going to allow him to have a nice, wide, stable base. And if things go awire, if he gets a little unstable coming down, he has that wide, stable base to kind of steady himself. If you had your leg tuck up underneath the bench and the weight was heavy and it was coming down like this, your legs are tucked underneath the bench. How are you going to stabilize an unstable lift? You want to have a nice, wide base. So he does have a wide base. I do like that. So he's coming down to the board. One thing I don't see is he's tucked a little bit. He does look a little bit too flared out on the way down. I like to see a little bit of tuckage. I'm not big on really like over tucking like this. Like I mentioned, if you tuck hard like this on the way down and you press, you have to initiate a lot of rotation on the way up to lock the weight out. Whereas if you were partially tucked, that rotation is minimal compared to really tucking and having to really rotate on the way up for the lockout portion of the lift. But he is relatively flared. It's a little bit more flared than I would think he should be. So he touches the board, and he's not getting any pop off that board whatsoever. It came up maybe an inch off the board, and there's just nothing there. Now, I don't know the specifics, how many workouts he's gotten into this piece of equipment, if it's a used shirt, if it's old, if it's double ply, triple ply. I'm not an Inzer guy. I don't know. Does he have it jacked down? Does he have it scooped? Does he have the SDP users? They mess with the sleeves quite a bit. They'll actually they'll fold the sleeves down and make a crease right here, like a fold, kind of like this. And they'll get a lot more tricep support. There's all these little bells and whistles and tricks. My friend Amber Hansen uses all those bells and whistles when she uses her SDPs. So he might not get, it might be a used shirt, worn out shirt, who knows. But one thing I see is that when he initiates his leg drive, the first thing that happens, we can see it very clearly, is that his ass goes straight up off the bench. He drives with his legs, his ass comes up, and there is no momentum into that barbell whatsoever. So one of the things with leg drive and leg positioning, when you're doing leg drive in the bench, what you want to think about is not pushing straight down to the floor. Your ass is going to come straight up. So what you want to do, and that's the problem with leg drive, is that you have the risk of your ass coming off the bench, and that's a failed lift. That's just bad technique. I'm guilty of it. It happens from time to time. Not very often. I've not been called for an ass raise in a meet, I don't think ever in my entire life. But it does happen from time to time in training, especially when I'm going raw, too heavy or a lot of reps or something like that. But what you want to do when you leg drive, when you plant your legs, you don't want to push straight down to the floor, which is going to cause your ass to come up. What you want to do is actually push away. You're trying to drive yourself up the pad. If you push straight down to the floor, your ass is just going to go straight up. You're not going to create any kind of force up and through your body into your shoulders. So when I teach people leg drive, I have them set up way down towards the foot end of the bench. So plant their shoulders way down here. And I say, okay, now plant your legs, and without your ass leaving the bench, I put my fists on the top of the pad, and I say, okay, now drive yourself up to me and touch my fist with your shoulders. And that's what you want to think about. You're trying to drive yourself horizontally up the pad by pushing this way with your legs. You don't want to push straight down, which is going to cause your body to go straight up. Your ass comes up. That's not good. Obviously, your shoulders aren't going to leave the pad because the weight of the bar is pushing you into the pad. Your shoulders are never going to leave the bench, but your ass is just hanging out there. If you push straight down, it goes up. You want to push this way to drive yourself up the pad this way. So I would definitely work with this gentleman, Eric, and get him. There's a couple of drills you can use. We'll have to make a whole separate video on that, on exactly how to leg drive properly, but that is one thing I see. The very next thing, I touched bases on this on my last video. I'm going to consistently bring this up because it's so important when you're trying to bench as much weight as possible. When you are on boards, it is no longer a press. I don't like referring to boards as a, let's say this video, a 2-board press. I went to the gym and did 3-board press for max set of reps or singles. No, they are extensions. You have to start rewiring the way you think. When you're on a board, and this is especially hard to teach the equipped guys, when you're on boards, you have to touch the board and learn to initiate with the triceps and extend off the boards, how they're supposed to be. They say like, oh, a 3-board, I'll call it a press for the sake of, so we're on the same page. Say, oh, a 3-board press is a great way to develop lockout power, lockout strength. 2 boards great for lockout. I'm like, okay, well, if you're touching the board and all you're doing is pressing, if you're just pressing off the board, and especially, like I said, the equipped guys, they like to touch the boards and use the equipment and just push it off. No, what you need to do if you want to actually develop lockout strength or power is actually work the lockout. Lockout is done by triceps. So you touch the board and you extend. You don't push. Touch the board, extend with the triceps. Touch the board, extend with the triceps. And this is especially hard to teach somebody when they're in equipment, because they're usually handling a lot more weight than they can handle full range. They touch the board, they want to use the equipment and push and heave-ho it up, and they're not training the triceps properly. They're initiating with the chest and the shirt. The chest is responsible for this. The chest does not do this. This is triceps in the arms. The arms are key to the bench press. So Eric here looks like he's trying to, unless, like I said, unless the weight is too heavy, the shirt's worn out, he has no support whatsoever, but it doesn't look like he's initiating with the triceps and extending off the boards. It looks like he's kind of pressing, but because there's not a lot of shirt there, like I said, either because it's worn out or it's old or the weight's too heavy, but he's pressing, there's no support, he doesn't have the tricep engagement to lock the weight out. So that's my biggest critique on that video. Otherwise, I mean, just keep hacking away at it, man. When he sits up off the bench, I can see it looks like the shirt's a little bit jacked. He has a belt on, a bench belt, a real skinny belt, about a 2-inch belt, which is what I wear. And he has the collar. The SDPs come with collars that are really scooped very, very low, so the collar is very low. They actually say that with SDPs, you actually bench with the collar. I don't do that with my katanas and things. I just work with the sleeves. I don't mess with the collars at all. So the collar is very, very low. It does look like, if you see at the very end of the video, there's a big crease going across the top or middle of his tricep right here. So it looks like they may have folded the shirt down to try to make a crease to get more tricep support on the way down. So this might be a really heavy lift for Eric, him personally. Look at the shirt's really jacked up. It might have just been too much weight, but you got to get that proper technique. It's a board extension. It's not a press. You need to rewire your thinking. Extend off the boards. Work the triceps. Don't just heave-ho and use the equipment. All right, everybody, we've made it to the end. We've got a third video here. This comes from a friend of ours from Pennsylvania. His name is Brian Bear. He just started lifting about a year ago or so. He's got about a year of experience in powerlifting. He actually came to our fundraiser meet and deadlifted and benched. So we're going to go ahead and roll the clip, and we're going to watch Brian's raw bench. All right, so you know I'm going to say it right out the gate. Nothing about Brian right now. That's not. I'm looking at the piece of equipment he's on. If anybody knows me personally or has seen a lot of my videos or live chats on Instagram, I have a livid, breathing hatred for combo racks. They are garbage. Unpopular opinion or not, they are shit. They're rickety. The pads are absolute garbage. I understand the convenience. If you're a meet director, I understand that you can have one piece of equipment for people to squat in. You drop a pad in, boom, you can bench. Like, you don't have to pull the monolift out on wheelies or anything like that and carry this heavy bench in. Like, I understand. But for benching, if you want to walk your weights out and squat, by all means. But for bench pressing, these things are the absolute most shitty, dumb, stupid piece of equipment to bench on. It's probably all he has up there at that gym. I'm not dogging him at all if that's all he has available. We've talked before. He sent me this video. But I'm just putting my unpopular opinion out there. The ER racks, I don't care about brand. I don't care if it's Ghost, ER, Texas Strength. The combo racks that are spec to USAPL, USPA are just absolute pieces of dog shit. And I will never, ever, ever bench on one. I'll go ahead and curl in it. I'll do barbell curls or something in one. That's about it. So moving on to the actual critique of the lift, not the garbage piece of equipment that ER Rack puts out there. So right away, he is, again, his experience level is lower. He's got about a year or so into the sport. I don't see wrist wraps, so that's the one thing. I can't tell how much weight's on the bar. It looks like he's got 2 reds. Maybe 2, yeah. Okay, it's 2 reds and a collar and a plate, a little blue or black plate. So it's probably in the neighborhood of about 300 pounds, give or take. So looking at his setup, he's very, very flat. That's fine. I'm not a fan of flat benching. I think that, for one, it's bad leverage. You're putting your chest at a disadvantaged position rather than arching and taking advantage of the lower pecs, which are more powerful. You're decreasing your range of motion. With flat benching, you're increasing the range of motion. So I'm just not a big fan of flat bench. But his setup doesn't look bad. His feet and his legs are just kind of hanging out in the front of the bench. It looks like he laid down and just kind of wherever his legs are, they just are there. So he gets the handoff from the gentleman there, handing off to him. Guy has a spotter. He does have the safeties. The ER racks do have safety arms that can come up. So that's good. He's benching in a safe environment. That's important. Right out the gate, his right hand is at an angle where you can't see it very much, but his left hand on the far side of the screen is cocked back a little bit too much than I would like to see. One, you can combat this by, again, carrying the bar low in the palm, not up here, not by the base of the fingers, but on the heel of the palm. When I was in martial arts, we were breaking boards. you strike with the heel of the palm, which is in direct line with the forearm. If you hit up here, bend your wrist back and break it. I had a friend do that when I was like 13 or 14 years old. So carry the bar nice and low. And secondly, wear wrist wraps. Wear wrist wraps when you bench. Not even tight or long ones. Just have some sort of support to combat the need or the tendency to have your wrist cock back like this. So his wrist could use a little bit of work, and I would like to see him arch. I mean, he's a big guy. We met him in person. He's like 6.5 feet tall. He's a big boy. He could arch and decrease that range of motion a little bit. He is a really good deadlifter, which tells me he has really long arms, so which is going to be a disadvantage in the bench. So I think he should take advantage of the ability to arch, take that wider grip, and take his long arms out of the equation as much as he possibly can. So as we start the lift, before he brought the bar down, there was some shifting around, a little bit of looseness, if that's a word, in the lower body. He was able to kind of raise his hips and move. There should be zero movement. You should be as tight as a snare drum before you even get the hand off. And when you get that bar, zero movement. You should be so tight in your entire body. Leg drive, belly tight, lats dug in, upper back, squeezing the bar as hard as there should be no movement whatsoever. Do all that movement and get all those things out of the way and then get tight before the bar even leaves the rack. So he's bringing the bar down, slight pause. He's got some leg drive initially off the chest. It's a little uneven, as you can see. If you go really slow, he's kind of firing with his legs unevenly. It's like one leg moves before the other, and what that's going to cause is an uneven amount of force coming up the body. So if you fire with your left leg and then your right, as opposed to both legs at the same time, you're going to have uneven forces coming up your body. It's going to be uneven. It's going to make your whole bench off. You want to have consistent pressure throughout the duration of the lift, and then when you go to drive off the chest, both legs fire at the same time. You don't want to fire one and then the other. So he got the bar off the chest, a little bit of leg drive, unevenly. And then you see his left foot actually slips. So there's a bit too much movement. Now, and this all kind of goes back to him being on a combo rack. He is too big to be on a combo rack. I would like to see him on a competition style bench, an actual real bench that is designed for big lifts and big guys. Dynabody, Forza, Edge Fitness, Rogue, anything else but a piece of shit ER rack, combo rack. He is so big and so tall. And the thing with these combo racks, it's like they designed the pads to be kind of like a throwback to how the equipment used to be back in the day, like 50s, 60s, 70s. So it's like, well, why is the sport trying to move forward, but you're making people lift on equipment that was designed from decades ago? You're going backwards. Doesn't make any fucking sense. So he's so big and so tall, and the bench is so low to the ground, he can't really even utilize his lower body. Even with a proper setup on these benches, you can't really utilize your legs almost at all. Before I learned my lesson with like USPA, USAPL, I thought my problem was that I just needed to practice on the ER benches more. I didn't realize, oh, they're too narrow, they're too close to the ground, they're too thin, they're garbage. No, I'm like, well, I have no experience on them. I just need to practice more. So I would lay on these things, do my normal setup. My lower back would get pulverized. The bench was literally set up in a certain way by specs from the USPA and the USAPL that the low height of the pad was taking my lower body out of the equation. I couldn't utilize my legs, and I'm 5'5". Brian Bear is way over 6 foot, convincingly over 6 foot, so he can't use his lower body almost at all. if he was going to try or attempt to use his lower body with this bench on this setup, what I would tell him to do is do kind of the Blaine Sumner setup where he would have his legs way out in front of him, like really way out in front of him, to combat the lowness of the pad to try to get some sort of leg drive. If your legs are underneath of you, as you can see, his shins are not even straight up and down. They're actually angled down. Like his feet are behind him, so his shins have an angle on him. And if he does any sort of leg drive, his ass is just going to come straight up off the pad. If he was on an actual comp, like my style, RPS, IPA, APF, actual real bench that has a higher pad, he could probably get away with his feet being in the position they are right now. But because his pad is so low, because it's a garbage combo rack, he could put his legs out further in front of him and wider and push out. And this way, to get some sort of good leg drive to get that bench going. So he's a little bit unstable. I don't see wrist wraps. I don't see a belt. Again, it's so hard for really, really big guys to be benching on combo racks. Other than that, I mean, I know he just started. We've talked a little bit before. He came down and did our fundraiser meet. I've met him in person. He did really well. And we were benching on a real bench at our fundraiser meet. He did very, very well. So I'd like to see him. I mean, he's barely even started in the sport, and he's already outgrown those pieces of equipment. So, but otherwise, yeah, he's got a good start, and we've talked before, and I'm glad to see him sending in some videos. I really appreciate that. So that is going to do it for this video today. That is our second bench critique video. If you want your bench critiqued by me, just send it in to me through Instagram or email. Email is thekolbstrong@gmail.com. Send your video in. Tell me who you are, what the weight is, what you want. I will critique your video, put it on YouTube for you guys to watch. Thank you for tuning in today, listening to the bench critiques, watching the awesome videos. Thank you guys for sending in your videos. Listening to my disdain, absolute fucking hatred for combo racks. I apologize. I go down those holes sometimes. It's just going to happen. So prepare for that for the future. So thanks again for being here, guys. Tune in next time for your bench critique. Have a good day.